What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an Arsenal inventory update to do for you guys. Vinyl this time, and I got a whole heaping stack of death metal to talk to you about here. These first two records I'm going to show you are going to look a little bit familiar to some of you guys. I bestowed these two certain records upon a very dear friend of mine, and I figured in doing that I may as well jump in on the fun myself. And let's get this party right on started with one of the best brutal death metal bands in the whole wide world. This is GORGASM with Orgy of Murder. This came out originally in 2011 on Brutal Bands, and this album was the return of GORGASM, so to speak, because this is a band that's very synonymous with the early increments of Unique Leader Records, with their first two full-length albums, Bleeding Profusely and what I consider to be one of their many masterpieces with Masticate to Dominate. Just pure, gory, brutal, visceral death metal done by musicians who know exactly what they're doing. There's a certain method to this band's madness, and this is one of the best brutal death metal bands on the planet. But almost 8 years later, GORGASM got a revised lineup, new band members, new approach, new work ethic, and they put out a brilliant album like Orgy of Murder. It pretty much was like they never really left. They just needed to take a minute to recharge the batteries, so to speak. And I believe with Orgy of Murder, they did that quite wonderfully. I mean, songs like Dirty Cunt Beatdown, Axe to Mouth, Exhibit of Repugnance, Erotic, Dislimbing, just a brilliant, brilliant album overall. And of course, the album that came out in 2014 with Destined to Violate, I thought was just pretty much flawless. It ended up in my top 10 of that year. But GORGASM are one of the most consistent bands in US brutal death metal, and I would say with an album like Orgy of Murder, they prove themselves to be why they are one of the very best brutal death metal bands in the world. So anyway, front cover, Tony Cole artwork, lots of sex, gore, and action on this thing. Back cover with the band members, track listing and credits. Brutal Bands put this out, but this is a co-release between Severed Records and Grinding Rebellion Records out of Switzerland. So yeah, this is the only vinyl album release that GORGASM has put out. It would be cool to see other GORGASM albums get the vinyl treatment, but anyway. Comes on a picture disc, which is pretty unexpected, but still, it's pretty awesome. I believe it's limited to 500 copies, but yeah, you have the picture disc here with the album cover art on this side, the B-side with the track listing and all the other credits. Pretty well done, I would say. But yeah, I think you can still get this through Severed Records. I think they're running down to the last few copies, so if you want to hear some brutal death metal on vinyl, definitely check out Orgy of Murder by GORGASM. Probably one of their best albums. I mean, it's hard to tell between this one and Destined to Violate, but I think this is a fucking great, great brutal death metal record, so support GORGASM. Next up, we're going to Texas for one of Houston's absolute finest. This is Imprecation with Therugia Goetia Sama. This is the compilation release of their demo material, most notably the Sigil of Baphomet EP, their incredible Ceremony of the Nine Angles demo, and assorted other great tracks, because Imprecation put out their debut album back in 2013 with Satanae Tenebris Infinita, but I think many people don't realize that this band has been around for a very, very long time. I mean, this band goes way back into the mid-90s with their material, and they know how to play really blasphemous, cryptic death metal, and with the older material this band put out, it was just really something to behold. I really love the earlier implements of Imprecation. It's just a really incredible band all the way throughout, and I'm more and more excited as to hear what's going to be happening next for Imprecation as far as making music and going forward. I mean, just great, great songs overall. There's even a Slayer cover on here with Show No Mercy, which I think is fucking awesome. But you have songs like Nocturnal Feast of the Luciferians, Vomit Floods of Christian Remains, Shrouded in Gore. Just some awesome, awesome material from this band. Imprecation are one of the best death metal bands to come out of Texas. And yeah, it definitely shows with a release like this. So anyway, front cover, Classic Chris Moyen artwork here. It's black and white. There's an original version that has color in the artwork, if I'm not mistaken. So this is pretty nice to see in a black and white sort of format. Back cover. As you can tell, this is a pretty glossy gatefold. You have the band members here. I believe that's David right there. It's my good buddy Wes Weaver, who plays in Blaspherian. You have Ruben right there, and you have the other two band members. Don't remember the names offhand, but sorry about that. Gatefold with lyrics and credits and information. This was released on Death Rune Records. I have the Digipack CD version, and this is the vinyl version, which is limited to 300 copies. This variant that I'm going to show is limited to 100 copies, and it's on a very nice red vinyl. Side A, Side B. I keep hearing that Dark Descent is going to be putting out the final pressing of this certain Imprecation compilation on CD, so I don't know if that's still going to happen or not, but if it does, I will most likely be buying that too, because I think this is a really excellent compilation, and it deserves to be heard by any fan of old school death metal. So, yeah, Imprecation, Therugia Goetia Sama. Fucking excellent Texas death metal. By the way, Canyon, if you're watching this, I hope that you're enjoying your copies and are putting them to good use and playing them at maximum loud capacities. Moving on, we have one of the best death metal debuts of the year of 2013, and I cannot get enough of listening to this album. Anytime I put this album on, it feels as though I'm getting reintroduced to something, and I think it's really something special. This is Beyond with Fatal Power of Death. 2013, Iron Bonehead Productions. And it's funny how I talked about Texas death metal in the previous record that I showed you. This is a band that channels the early days of Necrovore. Necrovore being one of the most influential and iconic underground Texas death metal bands to ever exist. And this band is pretty much what would happen if Necrovore was still around today. And with Fatal Power of Death, they put out a death metal album that was just so unbelievably devastating. Musically, songwriting, music-wise, it's just an incredible album to listen to. I mean, it's only a trio, but this trio can produce such unbelievable heaviness. I love what they did with this album. It is just such a marvelous record to listen to. Merciless at Heart, the title track, Definite Decease in the Chamber of Death Salvation. Just a fucking incredible album. This is a wonderful piece of German death metal, one of the very best at what they do, and I'm hopeful that more will soon to come. It's been a while since this album's been out, but it still holds up and is very much something with endless replayability values to it. I think this is an incredible death metal record, and yeah, this definitely won my heart and is still winning my heart anytime I listen to it. So anyway, here's the front cover, nice matte finish here with this gatefold. It's really nice to see this artwork in a big blown up format, because having the CD version was cool and all, but getting the vinyl finally was the best feeling in the whole wide world. Back cover, band logo, side power, side death, gatefold. You have the band members in question here. Very, very cool. You got some goodies with this one. You have like a poster, frameable poster of the band logo and the album cover art. Very, very nicely done here. You also have a lyric sheet, stock card lyric sheet, side death, side power. Very, very nicely done here. And it comes on a standard black vinyl, nothing too special to show. Side power, side death. Sounds and plays great, by the way, as would be the case for anything that Iron Bonehead puts out. But yeah, anyway, one of the best death metal albums of 2013, and still an album that holds up tremendously to this very day. So check out Fatal Power of Death by Beyond. This is mandatory listening and mandatory purchasing too. Very much worth it. Moving on to 2014 now, with one of the best death metal albums to come out of that year as well. And the only album that had a different sort of spelling in comparison to an album of this similar name. This is Lucifer with Sun Eater. Yeah, Dark Descent Records, UK death metal powerhouse. I mean, this band really came into their own with a release like Sun Eater. From a musical sort of standpoint to the way this is just a really awesome album all the way through. I mean, I forget the name of the first Lucifer record, but this second album is really how things got started for them. Just sick drumming all the way throughout, sick riffs, awesome vocals, great songs, Liber Lilith, Sun Eater, Necromantian, Fiery Spheres of Seven. Just an overall amalgam of crazy death metal madness on here. Very fiery, blackened sort of feelings going on with a release like this. And yeah, this is such a fucking awesome record to listen to. So here's the front cover. Catola artwork done here. I love this album cover. I believe they made a flag version of this album cover. I don't know if that's still available or not, but it's cool that they did that. Back cover. I don't know who that is, but that's a pretty cool little image right there. Side A, side B. Red flooded inside jacket. This is the second press, I want to say. I believe this got repressed recently, and I believe there's going to be a picture disc version that's going to be coming out once again through Dark Descent. You have this little fold-out sheet here. Artwork, lyrics, band members. I believe Menthor is also playing in Nightbringer. I believe he played on the last Nightbringer release. I don't know if he's still with Nightbringer, but it's pretty damn awesome to hear and see him put his talents to use with that project. Another fold-out poster. Nice glossy paper here. Very, very nicely done here. Slip this back in here. And like the previous record, I want to say this came on a red vinyl as well. But yeah, this is red, nice red vinyl here. Nice labeling on this side, like a cool little goblet thing here. And you have like a dagger on the B side, which is really, really cool. I like what they did with this release. It sounds wonderful. But yeah, if you want to get into legitimate extreme metal, definitely listen to something like Lucifer by Sun Eater. This is some really awesome, awesome stuff. Alright, we're getting down to the last two in this video, and this next record I'm going to show you is something that I found at End of an Ear in Austin, Texas. I was going into that store looking for 2016 material, but instead I ended up finding some very valuable and rare stuff. One of those records was something that I almost had the opportunity to get last year at Housecore Horror Festival when I saw this band live on the last day of that festival, but I unfortunately didn't. But seeing that in the racks at End of an Ear really made me happy, and the version that it was made me even happier. And you can never have too much of this band's material on vinyl. This is Incantation with Mortal Throne of Nazarene. Oh my god, I am so happy to own this record, finally. Yeah. This was the follow-up album to the incredible debut record that was Onward to Golgotha. Seriously, an undisputed classic in the death metal world. Probably one of the best early Relapse releases you'll ever hear in your life. And it made me wonder, it only made people wonder how could they follow up something so brilliant like Onward to Golgotha. And you got a really good little answer here with Mortal Throne of Nazarene. This album is equally as devastating and equally as important, I would say. I mean, songs like Emaciated Holy Figure, Iconoclasm of Catholicism, The Ibex Moon, which of course is a very synonymous song with Incantation, Blissful Blood Shower. This is just an overall incredible record. I believe this album was recorded as a trio this time around, but I still think that this is a very awesome death metal record. The early Relapse days of Incantation are some of the very best of all time, and it's quite fascinating to know that Incantation are back on Relapse, so when they come out with a brand new album, I am very much looking forward to seeing what type of material gets recorded and done here, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be awesome to listen to. So anyway, front cover, glossy gatefold here, very recognizable album cover art. This is the 2013 Hell's Headbangers reissue. You have the back cover here with the track listing and the Unholy Orgy going on here. Very recognizable artwork here. Gatefold with more artwork, lyrics, and credits. This is so very nice. Very good job done here. You have a poster. As is most Hell's Headbangers release, you get a really cool little poster with this. And of course the poster is once again of the Unholy Orgy. Mortal Throne of Nazarene. And I got the colored variant of this certain record, and I'm super fucking happy to have this version. Yeah. This is supposed to be maroon, but this does not look maroon to me. It looks like a more goldish brown copper sort of color. Side A, side B here. Regardless of whatever this color is, it's really, really nice, and it plays great, as any sort of Hell's Headbangers reissue would and should sound. So I'm super happy to have this, and I wish anyone luck, and anyone who ever wants to look for this or find this, because Hell's Headbangers reissues of Incantation albums aren't that easy to come across lately. I mean, I would say the most I've seen this go for on Discogs would be probably like 50 bucks, so if you think it's worth spending that much money on it, more power to you, but I'm glad I found it for at least 20 bucks. So, Mortal Throne of Nazarene by Incantation, splendid, splendid death metal. And last but not least, we're going to talk about another reissue, but this time from this calendar year of 2016. And it's funny I mentioned Relapse Records earlier because this is a death album. And out of everything that got reissued by Relapse, as far as death is concerned, this is the one album I was waiting and hoping for the most, more than anything. I didn't even get much of these reissues other than a vinyl version of Leprosy. But once this album came out, I was extremely happy and satisfied with it, and getting to hear this remaster job done justice makes things all the more satisfying, and I cannot be more pleased and more happy to own this again. Death. Scream Bloody Gore. The undisputed death metal classic. One of the very first increments of death metal to ever exist. I mean, a lot of people are in the debate mode of what was really the first death metal record to ever exist. I mean, you have the debut album from Possessed with 7 Churches. You have the unreleased master album that could have came out before the Possessed record, and then later on after that came Scream Bloody Gore. Death metal was a very sentient and new genre building up and rising up, and a release like this showcased how important and how influential the genre is. I mean, this album is almost 30 years old, but this release still holds the test of time. It is still an unbelievable masterpiece all this time later. I mean, the minute you hear the opening riffs of Infernal Death, to popular songs like Zombie Ritual, Sacrificial, Regurgitated Guts, Evil Dead, so many memorable songs, so much craziness going on here. And this was during the time period in which death was starting to be, you know, shocking, crazy, destructive with their music and their lyrical content. Of course, with due time, this band changed their sound dramatically to a more progressive, technical sort of death metal sound. I should say on record that I enjoy everything that Death has ever put out, but I prefer the old guard, old school era of Death more than anything. Scream Bloody Gore, Leprosy, and Spiritual Healing. That's where Death is for me. I enjoy the other stuff too, but the first 3 are where it's at for me. This is a fucking awesome, awesome album, and like I said, this remaster job was done justice by Relapse. I am so happy that they did a wonderful job with how they made this record sound. You hear the bass a lot clearer, you hear the music a lot better. It's just a better sounding record and better sounding experience overall, and I'm so very happy to have a version of Scream Bloody Gore that just sounds wonderful to listen to. So anyway, front cover, classic Ed Repka art. You have this red foil embossment on the Death logo and the Scream Bloody Gore. I love the fact that Scream Bloody Gore is in quotation marks, which is very, very old school to say the least bit. Back cover with the same artwork, track listing, side A, side B. You have this lyric sheet here thing, which is very interesting and very telling because of this reissue, because as many would remember in the original pressings and reissues previously to this one, there was a guy on there by the name of John Hand, who was credited by his picture, but he didn't play on the record. He was just on there, and I thought it would have been kind of humorous if they had left John Hand in this album with getting his picture in there, but I guess it's not, because they want to pay the respect to everything. I think that Chuck Schuldiner pretty much did all the music. He wrote everything, and then he had Chris Reefer play drums. You have, of course, no Chris Reifert best from Autopsy and assorted other great death metal bands. But anyway, here's the sheet itself. Classic collage of band photos. The band members themselves here. I love these photos. They are so badass. You have lyrics, credits, and you have assorted liner notes. You have liner notes from Chris Reifert, liner notes from Max Cavalera, formerly of Sepultura, Scott Randy Burns, who did the mixing mastering job, I want to say, production work. Yeah, you have the lyrics, credits, assorted other stuff. There's a download code on here, but if you want that download code, buy this record yourself and download it yourself. And this is the mail order edition, which is limited to 2,000 copies. There are assorted other versions and variants all across record stores and online distros across the country, but this is the version that I was able to get, and this is the blood red variant. Side A, side 1, side 2. Love that tongue. Fucking awesome job here with this reissue. I am so very happy to have this. I've had the Back on Black reissue for years, but I wanted something that would be even greater and better than that. And luckily, that did come with this Death reissue. I'm in trouble with this sleeve here, so give me a second. There we go. Nice and neat. But yeah, kudos to Relapse for this reissue of Death Scream Bloody Gore. This is such an excellent reissue. I'm so very happy to have this. And yeah, I'm going to conclude this video. I'm going to leave you selected links to some of the bands and artists I talked about in this video. If you happen to have any of these releases or have heard any of these releases, let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it. Have any of you had any recent interest in the Death reissues that Relapse put out? Let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it. I hope everyone here has a wonderful weekend ahead of them. I'm going to conclude this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until the next time, Army Ho out.